You got a review for a documentary film called "This Is the Tom Green Documentary," which is streaming on Amazon Prime now.
Mhm.
You informed me about it. What are your thoughts on it?
So my thoughts on it. So I think Tom Green, if you like, I was like thinking about this. If you really boil down early 90s or late 90s, early 2000s, he is like very big. Like MTV, uh, his show, very influential into like the 2000s with stuff like Jackass, even like modernly with Eric Andre and his show. Like you see that and you see his career and just kind of how weird it was. And then his whole relationship with Drew Barrymore, and then him being in movies like Road Trip, and he's in the Charlie Angels movies. He has a really interesting career, and also Canadian. It's just like his style of comedy. It's all fascinating. So, and now he's kind of like he does comedy stuff, but he isn't like as big as he was back then. And he's done. I've some interviews, and the last thing I saw. Do you know what Last Laugh is?
I do not know.
It
Can't say
was
that I do.
It was like a reality show. They kind of that was I think it was started from like a Japanese thing. They would have like different ones. So basically, it's like you have a bunch of comedians and they can't laugh, and whoever like breaks first loses basically. And he was on the Canadian version. It was him. I think it was Colin. I think it was Jay Baruchel hosted. It was him, Colin Mockery, the guy who plays Squirrely Dan from Letterkenny, uh, the mom from Phineas and Ferb, and a bunch of other Canadian comedians on it. And basically, that was like the last time I saw Tom Green. And I think also a lot of people have rediscovered him because Freddie Got Finger. Yeah, that's it. That's it. Uh, is has been I don't want to say it's been like become a cult movie, but people have like looked at it and rewatched it and maybe reevaluated some parts of it and had found some enjoyment out of it in how awful it is. So I thought it was like, okay. And then, I saw recently Tom Green was like, okay, I did a documentary about, the Tom Green show and, my life and my career. And I'm like, oh yeah, this is coming out and I'll watch it. And I think it's really good. And I think it really paints a good picture. Like if don't know who Tom Green is, I think it's like you'll actually learn a lot about him. And if my only issue is he isn't really self-critical of himself. Like we see a lot of these footage, and I don't know if did you guys watch the Tom Green show or seen clips of it and whatnot
I've
back
seen
in the day?
clips.
Yeah,
I've watched clips of it, but I really only know Tom Green from Road Trip.
that's fair. That's fair. You kind of see a lot of the pre-Jackass kind of like I'm gonna fuck with my parents kind of like stuff with that. I'm gonna do like this stupid stuff. Like I'm gonna go around and do a song about butts. I'm gonna like I think maybe the worst thing he did was he took his dad's car and painted it and kind of called the slut mochi and started like driving her around. And you could just see his parents were pissed. And like his parents are still alive and in it, and they're really cute. And they're like, they're talking about it. And it's like, yeah, they made money off of it and made money, probably from him doing all of this. But like still they were, primary targets of him getting messed with. Um, and I think it's like, discussing that and looking at that, like if I was like his age, I'd be like, was this just stupid? Was I like was this like I like it seems like he feels bad about it now, but like even and somewhat at the time, but like even then it's like, oh yeah, like what you did to your parents maybe isn't cool, even if they made money off of it. Like there is a little bit of that, and I think it's a little bit too much hero worship of him because it's him like directing and making the whole thing. And like there's some parts at the end where they talk about him taking over for David Letterman and him like doing his own kind of like more traditional talk show style. And it's like, yeah, he could actually be like a good late night host if he's like, I'm like, yeah, okay. I'm like, sure, that's you saying that. Like it's like I'm like, I think you could just be a little bit more critical on yourself. And they talk a little bit about Freddie Got Fingered, but I'm like, I kind of wanted to know more. I'm like, you're working with Rip Torn, who's, was kind of, I mean, yeah, probably still crazy at that time on this big movie and it flops and it's become like kind of like, Razzie nominated, and over the years like people have roasted and made fun of it, uh and people, I think he's even talked about that. People quote this at me. People love this movie, and because it's, I would love to hear more about him making it, and like, it's like, well, did you think this was a good idea? Did you really think it was the whole stuff with the baby and like the wheelchair, like, really? Like, what was the thought process behind it? Because I think even in the worst, like, the room, of course, it's like, oh yeah, it's like what went into the making of this like crazy story. Like every like bad movie has like a crazy story behind it, and I think this movie, there's also a lot of that in there too. And
Uh-huh.
I think also watching it, it's like, yeah, I can kind of see why he made something like this, because this is his kind of humor. It's like annoying people. It's loud. It's crass. It's vulgar. Uh, and it's a lot of him fucking with Rip Torn, which some people have found uh you know comedy out of for years, but like that's what he was doing on his show, and now he's just kind of doing it with like, in a film that like he went and actually got the Razzies for. So I kudos to him on that. I actually think that was pretty cool. um and yeah, it just kind of it's I mean, mostly it is focused on the Tom Green era show of him, like, talking about the clips about like him getting like so big, and kind of the influence. I also had no idea he had a rap career. Like legit, I'm like, what? You were like, this is before the Tom Green stuff. It's like you were doing rap, and it is some 90s rap, if you ever wanted to see it. Like it's him and baggy clothes, and like, the style is like baggy pants, and doing, and like he's a good rapper. Like it's like the music's good. Like, but I'm just like, yep, yep, that's 90s white boy rap, as we want to call it.
Mm, okay.
Um, but yeah, I think this is a good documentary of Tom Green. I like, if you like him, if you like his comedy, if like Freddy Got Fingered, ironically, or as a movie, I think you will enjoy this movie. If you like, if you watch the Tom Green show, it's like, oh, I have a lot of nostalgia for that. That is big. I just kind of wish it was a little bit more like, critical of himself. Like I think a lot of documentaries, um, especially when it's on a person and even directed by a person, it's like, say what you want about them. It's like you do want to come off as a good person, and I can't 100% say that about Tom Green, but I just like, I guess I wanted to hear a little bit more of him being a little bit like, did I, doubtful of like his own actions, and like, is like, was this good, was this funny, do I regret where my career's at, do I wish I was back in Hollywood making movies, or still being in like, big productions like, Road Trip, and what, Super Bowl commercials. Like, do I wish I still had that level of fame that I had back in the 2000s,
Mm,
uh and it doesn't really do that. And I
okay.
I think it could have done that maybe if someone else directed it and it was a Tom, because when you're investing in yourself and you're putting out a documentary about yourself, you want to be the hero of the story. You want to look good for the camera. I mean, that's what everyone wants. And I think he has a really great line in the opening where it's like the whole science thing of like, oh, once you document something, then it's just, it's it changes. Like if you're viewing an experiment, it will automatically just change what happens.
So, in the documentary, does he
Mhm.
ever talk about, I guess, his impact on culture, and then now what we're leading to, like, now
Oh,
current YouTube culture is maybe a product of what Tom Green did with the Tom Green show? Like, you have all these people on YouTube doing the prank stuff and everything like
mhm.
that. Is that kind of, does he talk about
A
that?
bit, a bit. He talks about like he did this like live stream show on like I must have been like early internet in like 2008. So he kind of talks about that. I think he has a clip with him and Eric Andre, and I don't know if it might be from like another interview he's done with him. But Eric does admit that, like, yeah, I kind of stole the idea of breaking the set from you. Like, I'm totally biting off you, and I think they seemed like they were cool, but it was just like, yeah, like, of like, there is some talk about that, but not too much. Really, I would say maybe I think there could have been a little bit more with how elaborate pranks and like YouTube culture and probably stuff that people watched him and was inspired by. got, but not as much. More about like him. It's more focuses on him, and then you see his parents, and then you see his old God, I don't remember the Tom something. It's basically his Andy. If he's Conan, it's like his partner when he was doing the Tom Green show. Um, and then some people who helped him along with his way, some of like agents and like a producer. Like I don't like. There's some clips of some celebrities, but I don't think there's any other celebrities in this.
Oh, Drew Barrymore doesn't make an appearance.
No, no. I mean, they talk a little bit of. I mean, that would be great if he actually got Drew Barrymore and there was like a whole thing where it's like, yeah, they met on The View a couple of years ago, and so he was on her show.
Yeah, I remember that was like a big thing when he came on the Drew
Yeah,
Barrymore
yeah.
show, and then they kind of talked about their kind of whirlwind thing, and
hmm
I watched. I didn't watch a whole lot of it. I don't think they ever said like how the fuck did that happen? How did Tom Green get Drew Barrymore? But
They he kind of he kind of explains it that like he was just like kind of nerdy and cute, and she was just kind of like, hey, I'm gonna shoot my shot with it, and it worked. It was like, I'm like, you know what? I see it. He's like this like he's this like kind of nerdy cute comedian, and I'm like, okay, I kind of understand how this works.
yeah, okay. So what would be your rating for the Tom Green documentary?
I'm just trying to double check my letterbox. I kind of gave it about 4 stars, which like a 4 to 5, basically. Where I like it. I have some issues with it, and I think a lot of documentaries, uh, there's always some issues with anything, with how people are portrayed, with how the story is told, with the questions that are raised, and there's a lot of very nice B-roll, but it gets like
Oh,
you see
he's
a lot of
talking
like,
about like a documentary. I didn't know. So.
Oh, you're not muted, by the way, Nick.
Oh,
Oh, it's okay, Nick. It's okay. There's a lot of like just B-roll of him and his dog and in the country. I'm like, this is why I guess it's like, you know what? I guess he spent his money well. He's got like, what's his name from like the guy who owned MySpace? Like he has just an island. He's got that kind of
Tom.
money. Oh,
Oh.
yeah, Tom from MySpace money, and it's just like, well, good for him. I'm glad he's like, successful and still doing this. But like, yeah, I guess I just wanted a little bit more like, self-reflection and a little bit more maybe like critical analysis, and he never brings up his great clip and his great episode of Clone High. Like that's an amazing like him and that show is like one of my favorite
Oh,
things.
was he Abraham Lincoln in that?
No,
Or
he's just a guest in the ADHD episode where he's where it's kind of like a parody of like the AIDS and stuff, where Gandhi gets diagnosed with ADHD, and then Abe goes, it's like, I need an expert, and he gets Tom Green, and Tom Green is just crazy, and he's just like, oh, I explain what ADHD is, and then I'm talking about how I'm an albatross, and there's him.
Green. I live in Hollywood. Thank you. So some of you may have been mean to a kid with ADD. That's not cool. Coffee? Anyone? Huh? Sorry. I like cotton candy. Check out my muscle. Potato chips. It's a Ferris wheel. So I guess what I'm trying to say is plastic bag, plastic bag, plastic bag, plastic bag, plastic bag.
Well, that's maybe he did have the footage. Like that was the other thing. I'm like, you have all this Tom Green footage. I bet people would like love to watch this on like you could put this like sell this shit to Netflix or like or like Amazon or something. Like
is the
people would
Tom
love
Green
it.
show streaming anywhere?
I don't think I don't know if it is.
Okay. Okay.
Uh,
I don't know who owns the Tom
yeah,
Green.
yeah, yeah. It might be like Viacom because it was like MTV, comedy like MTV who helped make it. So
Yeah. Okay.
oh,
So 4 stars on our
yeah,
scale, that'd be a peak. So you give it a
yeah,
peak.
yeah. I give it a peek.
Okay. Very awesome. And then, like you said, you do have a lot of his sons walking around here. One of
Mhm.
which is Eric Andre.
Yeah.
Like this. Which you had the Eric Andre show, which was it's very crazy Eric Andre
hmm
show.
I would say even like, do you ever watch Nathan For You? That also feels like something like Tom Greenish.
Oh yeah, with Nathan Fielder, right? The
Yeah,
comedian.
yeah. Where it's like he has like these like ridiculous ideas, and he's actually just like presenting them to people, and he's being straight faced and serious all about it.
Hunter says, amazing how as much shit as Tom Green pulled, he never got his ass kicked when he made his co-host drink his pee.
I think I saw that. It was like pickled, and then he was like, "Yeah, I peed on them," and then he made it drink. It's like, yeah, it was like roulette or something. I think there is a clip of that. There's like a lot of clips of the Tom Green show in it too. So it is like
Cool.
If you do have like nostalgia for it, I think you'll have enjoyment watching it and going back to it.
Oh, yeah. If you love to watch people drink pee, check
Heck,
that out.
yeah.